Good day, race fans, and welcome to the Intentional Wreck Podcast, the podcast made by race fans for race fans, from the casuals to the lifelong gearheads. My name is Jeff, and I'm here with my fellow hosts Corey and Finn, and you can find us on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Wreck. You can also find us on Twitter under the handle at intwreckpod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. What a Sunday, guys! I expected the Chicago street race to be good. I expected it to be compelling, and I expected it to be entertaining. It checked all of those boxes and still somehow found a way to exceed expectations in so many different ways, even with weather delays, even with rain, like all of the other factors that came in there. It was still so much fun to watch.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, we watched for the most part together, but remotely. What did you guys think? What are your thoughts?
Go ahead, Corey.
Well, Noah Gragson, I mean, he was an entertaining circus act just all unto himself. But the race was great, man. It was just so great watching those guys. You could kind of get a sense that they were just having an absolute blast out there. Just from the way that they were driving and how much the cars were moving around and stuff, it just looked like they were having so much fun. The guys getting stuck under the tires was nuts. You know, and how wet it was. Like they'd hit the tires and just cascade of water would go shooting up in the air. It was like a completely visually stunning race to watch. Even if NBC was just a little bit of a letdown on their broadcast coverage, but other than that, man, it was a great time.
Man, I felt like the qualifying session, right, on Saturday was what kind of started setting the tone for what we knew. I guess what kind of felt like was going to be a special weekend. Obviously, we're going to talk a lot about the winner and how impressive he was, but let's not forget he was fastest in practice. This V8 supercar, 3-time supercar champion, comes over in the Project 91 car. That's a part-time ride. And he's fastest in practice. And it's like, all right, but that's just practice, and he's a wet weather god, and he is a footwork god in terms of road racing. So, all right, cool. Everybody's learning the circuit. He's fast. And then there's qualifying a little bit later. And then, here comes Denny Hamlin, who's not even like the road racer. He looked really good at Sonoma, qualified on the pole at Sonoma. But Denny Hamlin comes out and steals the pole, and it's like, all right, these NASCAR boys are here to play. And, man, I'm just really glad we got going past the weather. Good call on NASCAR to wait it out and not try to push it to Monday. It ended up being perfect. I think the first thing I was talking about is how visually stunning the race was. Yes. We had a lot of the battle cams up. We had a lot of the in-car cams, and just seeing the city in the background was super sick. I get that we get those a lot within the Formula One things, but it's like those are moving so fast that everything's a blur. We're not moving so fast in these cars that it's all a blur. They're going up, and you got the skyline in the background, and I thought that was super sick. Made some really good shots, and then I was just very happy that there were multiple passing areas on the track. It wasn't a situation where we get thinned out, single file, and nobody can go. No, it was, I don't know if the rain had something to do with that, and then the transition to slicks, but there's still being water on the track that allowed for that to occur. But the racing all throughout the field was fantastic. I mean, who jumped out to an early lead? Hamlin jumped out. Obviously, he wrecked.
Chris Bell and Reddick did.
I think Bell ran Reddick down.
Yeah.
So Bell runs Reddick down, and then SVG starts catching Reddick, eventually passes Reddick, and then, it was just so much was going on, so much passing, and then the single file restarts was a big thing. I felt was a W call by NASCAR. I think double file restarts would have led to way more little pileups, having to run it back. I felt like there was good pacing when we were green. You got to see a lot of cars come and go with the tires, with our drivers. We, of course, were the first two idiots on slicks, and we can't get it figured out.
Yeah, they were definitely moving around when Briscoe and Bowman put those slicks on. It was like, whoo.
Right.
All right, boys.
So, a lot of the big strategy calls that occurred, I want to get your guys' thoughts on them. Do we have any idea if it's good to be the first to pit or second to pit? Because you look back at ovals last week, and Truex is chasing Chastain. Truex pits first. Ross goes another lap, maybe two. I think it may have been one, and then he pits and he comes out in the lead. And then you look back to yesterday where SVG, I think we'll call him SVG. What's his first name? Shane? Can we just call him Shane? Shane is running down and he catches Bell and he's about to pass Bell when Bell goes down pit road. So they're, a car length apart. And then when they come out of the pits, Bell's got like a 2-second lead on him. I don't even know. Do you want to be the first to pit? Do you think it's because of the road courses? Like, what's the thought?
Well, I think with the road course, at least, like in this particular instance, pitting first, good, because the guys who pitted early were able to flip later when they got that lucky caution or whatever. I don't remember exactly what happened, but like the last 10 cars suddenly flopped up to the front of the pack.
Well, yeah, that was like a late. This is more like the first pit stop. Like one-on-one, you're with the driver. You both need tires soon. Do you want to be the first to pit or do you want to be the second to pit? Is like the thought process. And we've seen two situations, granted, two different kinds of tracks, where the guy you pitted second, Ross Chastain, came out first, and then this time, I think it might be the length of the track, the benefit of the new tires for Bell. Maybe that's what it was. Maybe I'm answering my own question. Yeah, Bell's got 2 minutes.
It's going to depend on the style. I mean, think about the track, think about those factors. But when it's just coming down to the two, it also is going to depend on the two style of drivers.
Right.
I mean, really, like what exactly is your aim? What exactly is your strategy, and how have you been running? Because when you think about somebody like Chastain, he's no strength. Like Truex's wins, for example, when he's had to come in and he's gone to run somebody down, in most cases, more than anything else, he's come in with a car that's been so sneakily good on the long run that he's had to be the ability to, creep up and chase somebody down and get where he needs to go. Chastain is no stranger to having the ability to find his way to the front by hook or crook. It doesn't really matter. So, and it's going to depend on the circumstance. I mean, ovals and road courses are also going to be their own animals with that too, right? Like, because the Chicago street course, nobody knows what's going on. So at that point, you're really, it's a coin flip regardless of what you're doing. But if you were to go to a COTA, or you're going to a Road America, or you're going somewhere like that, especially with a higher potential of something, crazy happening down there at the end,
right,
that's where it really could definitely play a factor. I was surprised at the leaderboard flip in the way that it happened yesterday. I mean, I think that was, kind of a shock to a lot of folks, but regardless, I think that it ended the way we figured it was going to end up ending. We just didn't think the two major players at the top were going to be who they were, or at least half of them.
Right.
Yeah, Justin Haley out of nowhere.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. And just to recap, in case you didn't catch up to the madness or were a little confused at what happened. So, obviously in NASCAR, we got fuel windows and tire windows, right? You're essentially, you could theoretically go as long as the car's got fuel, right? But if people behind you or whatever go and get new tires, you're going to lose ground until it's time for you to pit and get tires. So who has new tires and who's quick ultimately determines the pit windows. But you have to also, for your final pit stop of the race, you still have to be within your fuel window. So there was a caution right outside of the fuel window. And was the race scheduled to go 100 laps? Yeah, it was scheduled to go 100 laps. We're sitting at about 45-ish or 40-ish laps, I think it was. And a bunch of cars thought, okay, it's 100 laps. But even I noticed, I was like, damn, it's been a long race, especially with the cautions that have occurred. So I think, and there's no ability to race at night because our NASCAR stock cars don't have headlights if you're new to the sport. And then, and of course, the street lights around the track are not enough to keep it safely illuminated. So I was like, okay, so we know we're going to call it for night. So if you're at the front, do you pit and sacrifice your position now to make sure you're good on fuel in case the race gets cut short? Those guys decided not to. I think like first through like 12th or something, decided not to do that at all, just to stay out and assume the race is going to go its distance. And then a bunch of guys like Logano and Bush, Haley, Dillon, all of those guys
Chase Elliott.
Chase Elliott went and got tires. And then they're sitting in like the late teens and 20s. But then another caution occurred about 6-7 laps later, and then NASCAR determined, hey, this race is actually going to go 75 laps. So now all of these cars that were up front are like, okay, well, we need to pit now and get tires. But all the dudes that had pit in the last caution, their fuel window is now good for 75 laps, or at least pushing it close. So that kind of, like y'all said, it cycled the whole field back. All of the leaders, I think Bell, Reddick, SVG, Shane, they were all back within the late teens. I think SVG restarted in 18th, so that would put Bell and Reddick in like 14th, 15th. And that was crazy. Just chaos of like, all right, cool. Now all the fast cars are in the back, and they worked their way up. Bell made, I think he maybe even got tapped. He made a mistake. Reddick was flying through the field. He got caught, but it was ultimately, and what is the most impressive thing was staying clean. And it was like, I remember I was watching him, Shane, and he was trailing Almirola and Byron. He passes Byron, passes Almirola, and I was like, all right, cool, that's 2 cars. And then he ticked off another one, and then I lost sight of it on the camera. I didn't know exactly where he was. And then I saw a car nudge, like basically put a move on Kyle Larson, and I was like, whoa, who is that? It was like for 7th. Or 8th, and I was like, who just got? And I looked closer, I was like, oh, snap, he's in 7th. And then Reddick, that's around the time that Reddick binned his car. I can't remember if there was a restart or not, but boom, then it's like, check down. All right, Logano, or Cindric, and then Logano, and then caught Bush. And after Bush, it was just Elliott and Haley to go. And he even caught Elliott. Like, he just made quick work of everybody, dude.
He was making moves that were so impressive and flawless that it's like, how is this guy who's in his series, they use right-hand drive cars.
Right.
So only for 1 week has he been using a car where the steering wheel is on the left-hand side. And he's out here making these absolute pros just look amateurish. Like
Right.
It was intense, man.
Well, to that point, that was what Chase Elliott said after the race. He was on MRN, and he said now he's going to go back home to his buddies and tell them all how bad we are.
Yeah, for sure.
The way he made just like quick work out of so many guys while he was running. I mean, it was his ability to find the windows and find the right lanes and make the right passes in such tight space that was interesting, because for most of the race, you kept seeing a lot of the other drivers who hadn't, raced here before, obviously, nobody had, trying to find out, first it was, where do you find the dry lane? And then it was, how do you avoid, any of the puddles and stuff like that? Weather was the first half, right? And then it was a matter of like, okay, I know the general lane that I'm going to find, but how do I actually use this to my advantage if there's only a single lane for anybody to run? Yeah. And then it was a matter of like, okay, how do I find the way to be inside no matter what? Or do I know after this specific turn, I know for sure I can get the upper hand by waiting to overtake on the next move. Right. And it was like he was 2 steps ahead out of everybody that was in front of him. And it was very impressive.
2 steps ahead is exactly right. So there were other interviews as well. Haley, Larson, Bush, and Elliott did like a panel interview after the race. And Larson said when he got past, he just was following him, and he was just like in awe. He was like, dude, he was talking about before he got past, he was like, I just put together what I felt was a really good section of the lap. And I was like, oh, great. I gave myself some breathing room. And he said, I looked up into the mirror, and all I had was his car right in my mirror. He goes, the dude didn't even remotely make a mistake behind me. In fact, he was faster through the section. He said when he got past, he was like, what in the heck is this guy doing? Where's he able to get, like, watching the way that he put moves on in turns that not everybody else could pass? He said Shane could pass in every single turn. Yes. And
that's what I was seeing too.
That was one of the differences, is not everybody could pass or gain ground in every single turn. They asked Haley this, right? They said, Haley, you were obviously on older tires. What was your game plan to hold him off? He was like, man, I felt really good in certain parts of the track. He said, but I really struggled getting into 4. I struggled through practice the day before. It's just something that I was, and if you're not aware, again, of the track, so turn 1 is a sharp left, a 90 degree. So we have turn 1 is a 90 degree left, turn 2 is a 90 degree right. From there, it's a really long straight. 3 is like a right-handed bender. They're at full speed. And then hard braking down, it's a 4, which is like I would say a 45 degree turn into a 90 degree. So it's a quick 4 and a quick 5 right back to back out of like the highest speed, some of the highest speeds on the track. And he struggled at 4. And he's like, so that's where he made a move on me. And then he goes to Shane doing an interview a little bit later on the panel as the winner. And he even noted out, he was like, yeah, the 31 really struggled. I'm not going to try the accent. Paraphrasing here. No accent, paraphrasing. Because he's a Kiwi. But like he literally says, the dude I'm racing struggled into 4. And just to be clear, this isn't a guy he was racing all day. This isn't a guy that he'd been trailing all day. He had caught him. And like in the span of a couple laps, had realized, oh, he sucks here. This is where I'll go get him. So this is the pass for the lead. And again, so I believe this is off of a restart. Haley's leading, I believe. And if you guys remember, Shane passes him hard off of 2, and Haley gets a really good run off of 2, right? And
started to get it back a little.
Huh? Yeah. He fought back for it, even I think almost as getting the lead. And it's going off of that long straight, the right-hander, and then down into 4 where he knew he was weak. That's where Shane threw it in there. So this is off of the restart.
A car length, now 2 in front of the 91 is Haley.
So again, here's the sharp 90-degree left-hander into 1. Right on him.
And that little wiggle right there.
Into 2, he gets wide, puts it under, and again, Haley arcs it well and gets back under him. This is off of 2.
Yeah, there was a slight
Haley kept his speed right here. Yeah. So this is 3.
Didn't even actually block him. Like he was like, "You got it,"
because he knew exactly. He throws it into 4 like that. That is wild speed that he just carried down into 4.
The confidence that's the biggest one. The confidence that it took for him to make that move right there was huge. Because just to know what was going to, that's what you're getting into.
In a single turn, he's like, you could have 3 because I know you suck at 4. So you're going to be carrying all this speed that you used to pass me. Fine, I'll just outbrake you into 4. Immediate lane change, immediate outbreaks the shit out of him. And then, boom, we're and if it wasn't for Bubba Wallace forgetting that his car actually has brakes, this would have been the pass that, and then sailed off. Of course, he had to deal with another restart. I want to show you guys something that that I watched today at not at work. I did not watch this at work on the company dollar.
No.
Let me.
You would never do that.
Make sure we don't have any ads per se.
It was like.
Is this the Wii baseball video, Finn?
No, this is not the Wii baseball video. This is him in his V8 supercar, chasing a guy down. He's second here. This is, if I would have seen this before, I would have put all my money on the race. He's in the Red Bull Chevrolet. One of the things that guys have notedly said when they get into NASCAR and they race NASCAR is they're not used to the cars beating and banging and knowing how close they can get, because obviously in these open wheel disciplines, there's no real need to, you can't really touch. But look, he is all over the nose of this guy. Or the bumper of this guy with his nose. He peeks out. He's extremely comfortable braking behind you, being right on your nose, trying different lanes.
Yeah, I could absolutely watch this circuit.
Yeah.
100% and enjoy it.
Dude, he is just not at all phased. Look at this. Gets it right there. Gives him a little nudge. He's
just letting them know.
He is perfectly primed for NASCAR racing in my mind.
Well, so that raises the question to me, so you get someone like SVG who's coming out from a series like this that it's not, it's not known for its contact like NASCAR is, but it's not anti-contact like some of the open wheel series are. So it does make me wonder is if someone's coming from a series like this one, or if you're coming from the GT series, I mean, going from LMPs and some of the WeatherTech stuff, you're probably not going to be in the same boat just given the price of the cars. But at the same time, like, does somebody who's coming from a series like this have an advantage
Look at that
in
shit.
comparison to open wheel drivers? Like, he's right up into his ass right there with
absolutely they do,
with
Absolutely they
zero
do.
thought.
And
You can't go from open wheel and being strictly open wheel and then just being comfortable with contact. Like, you can't fake that. They don't do that at all in open wheel series.
Right.
Like, contact is against the rules, right? This, it does not appear that contact is against the rules.
Well,
They are making some contact. Yeah.
that is the
Well,
move.
it's amazing what happens when you throw a roof over somebody, you know, and when you you put a shell on a roof and some barriers up there, and you can do that. But that's a hell of a chase down,
Dude. And Kyle Busch made a good point. He said even the guys like Jordan Taylor who subbed in for the 9 at Coda, they're coming from GT, and those cars are lighter than NASCAR stock cars. But from what I've heard, these V8 supercars are heavier than the next gen cars. So in terms of being comfortable with a high horsepower, heavy, bricky type car, obviously these are built more for road course racing than the NASCAR. The next gen is lighter than these from what I've seen, or at least close to in similar weight. So like, yes, you've already mentioned the right side, the shifting, right? There's got to be a lot of, but there's no doubt in my mind he's driven on the left side, but obviously.
Oh, for sure.
He's also a the Drift series, the very famous Drift series. He's competed in those. So like, dude, I mean, I'm blown away by his ability all race long. They talked about him being the only driver that uses the clutch all weekend. NASCAR, obviously, you don't have to use the clutch. You just rev match for the shifting. But they said he wasn't just using the clutch for shifting. He was using the clutch to change the balance of the car into the turns. Yeah. And when you have that understanding of footwork and things like that, I mean, the only way that looking back, the only way he loses this race is a pit road issue because he's not used to NASCAR pit roads and it's a part-time crew, or he gets wrecked out. He even did a good job. He got through that big ass thing where Byron wrecked, Harvick got spun. He snuck through with Suarez like crazy. I mean, looking back at it, it's so obvious.
I want to see him on an oval so bad.
Yeah.
Like, it has to be like, that has to be the next thing. Honest to God, you could take that guy right now and tell me that he's going to be in the 10 car next year, and I'd be like, yes, sign me up.
Yeah, well, first of all, because if you bring even a remotely competitive car to one of our 7 road course races, he's going to win one. He is going to win one, no doubt. So there's your chase. So the rest is how long does it take for him to get accustomed to ovals? Because he could win the Roval, he could win Sonoma, he's going to win Charlotte Street Course every time we go. Yes. I've never seen such a lopsided. It's like if Truex became a road course racer like guru. Like, those boring Truex wins, but this wasn't boring because he had to drive through the whole field.
Yes.
Man, that was it was, I mean, the rain sucked.
Really impressive.
It hurt. I
disagree, man. I think them losing that little bit of traction.
The rain, the rain in general, really putting a damper on the events. It's it sucks that we're a sport that's so heavily affected by weather, considering we're an outdoor sport. No, I felt like the rain in terms of the grip in the beginning was fantastic. It even again showed a masterclass from him because Bell was gone, and then he ran him down, and then it got dry, and Bell was still gone, and it was like, damn. And then he was running them down. I'm very curious. I wish we got more insight into grip fall off. I didn't really get a chance to look at lap times, so I'm very curious to what grip fall off looked like. But I would say, excluding the fact that he won his first race, which is a huge thing ever, I think it was by far the most impressive drive of the year, competing up there with what was the race that Kyle Larson got spun in the very beginning?
Dover.
No, it was a bigger track. Might have been Kansas. I think very early in the race, Reddick and Larson were battling it out at Kansas, and I think Larson spun himself off the nose of Reddick's car and then he had to go to the back. And remember, I was harping because I was watching Larson. I was just like, dog, he is just driving through the field.
Yeah.
I think that's
It was
up
tempting to do
there.
that.
Him at the All-Star race.
If you want to count the All-Star
Yeah.
race.
The All-Star
That was
race,
pretty
being the only
disgusting.
person to use but obviously with it being such low speeds, it's kind of hard to feel. But yes, he found something. But no, I would argue that this was as masterclass as it gets, and Pike quite possibly one of the best. I think it's a top 5 race as a whole. Just, and obviously not Shane, yes, but man, the race itself was just fantastic, man. I felt like everywhere we looked, there was battles. These guys are only going to get more used to that style of track. Yes, a lot of the barrier hits and things like that, but that's the nature of a track that can't have as much runoff as like Coda. You know, we're in a street race.
Yeah, you're talking about like just the barriers and stuff. I mean, how many times was Noah Gragson gonna baconate himself into turn 6?
3 times.
4 times into
Same
the
spot.
same freaking turn. My goodness.
Right. Also, he raced the car that won Sonoma last year for Daniel Suarez. That was released as well this week.
It was the same exact car.
Yep, it was the same car. They just
Nice.
gave it to the 91. I don't know what bet Daniel Suarez lost that he had to give
Yeah,
up his
okay.
race-winning car to the 91, but apparently they said it's the same car. So, I definitely want to see.
All around an absolute win.
Yeah.
For the whole thing, doing it on the street, doing it in a city, having a couple of drivers from other circuits, having it go from wet to dry. Like in terms of the race,
Mhm.
it was impeccable.
Yeah,
it
I
was
was-
absolutely flawless, I thought.
Well, let's talk about here's the other thing. The attendance was fantastic as well, despite all of the things that could have possibly, made people shy away from it. That was one thing NBC was constantly trying to focus on was where you had in areas where there was just open fence where it was standing room. It was 10 people back, and all of the seats were filled. I don't think you ever saw anybody really leaving seats or having empty patches really anywhere. I mean, it was a general packed house, despite the fact that I honestly, I was texting Corey at one point and talking to Finn, a little while before it happened, saying that this ain't happening today. This race is not going off today at all.
Crazy.
Because you just saw it raining the entire time. I was like, there's no chance.
Crazy.
And despite that, it was packed.
Yeah, no. For what it's worth, the plus side is once they get going, you have the whole city going, what the hell is that? And they can pretty much just kind of walk up and see what they could see.
Yeah.
But the camera angles were super dope. I was very happy. You said that you felt like NBC dropped the ball, and I felt like there were a couple times that NBC was losing coverage and things like that. But I felt like the most part, they did a good job at keeping us informed of what was going on around the track. But I definitely feel like it was a very big event that I wish they would have maybe had 4 to 5 races under their belts before they did it.
Yes.
For this to be their second race of the year.
It wasn't bad. It was never Fox bad.
Yeah, but it
there
wasn't their
points
best.
Late in the race where they're at commercial, and I swear to God, they played 7 commercials in a row.
Yeah.
It
And
was
it's like-
not the race that you're putting up against to
No.
make the comparison between Fox and NBC.
Yes.
It's not
And
the
I
one
understand
that
I
you're
understand
doing
it's a
for that.
one-off, but like when Van Gisbergen is coming up late in the race and he's going, I'm in 7th, I'm in 6th, I'm in 5th, and he's just climbing up, and you know what's about to happen, and they're just in commercial for 3.5 minutes,
Right.
and it's like, okay, like let's double box this. It's a same that complaint I will never not have. I understand why they have to do it, but it's just one of those things where
Yeah.
it was never as bad as Fox. The commentators are always better on NBC, bar none.
Right.
They are better.
Yeah.
But the logistics of when is the commercial, is it a full screen or is it in a double box, et cetera, it left a little bit to be desired. It was never bad,
Right.
but it was like, I want to see what you guys are seeing, and like they just wouldn't come back from commercial.
Right. I'm with you. I want to make one more note before we move on. Who won Victory Lane this week? Was it Jeff? Did Jeff take the cake? Listen, I won the pool for the
By
first time.
1 point.
Over who?
It was 1 point. So I had 159, Corey had 158, you had 154.
Oh,
we
man.
were all within 5 points of each other.
Man, I had the
Mostly
winner,
because
too.
we all had basically the same roster.
I'm sure
aside
we
from,
did.
like one
yeah.
different person.
I'm
yeah.
sure we did.
I
was just picking like guys who I Jensen Button and Van Gisbergen and like
that you can never use.
road coursers guys. Yeah, I was like, all right, cool. I'll just get
Right.
these in there.
I don't think Chase Elliott makes the playoffs.
It's getting dicey.
So-
Ooh, now we got takes.
So he has to average. So right now he's one spot out, I believe. Ty Gibbs is the last spot in. He's one spot out. SVG just stole a win from somebody. So that benefits Chase Elliott because somebody else winning, right? If Haley wins, that's one more spot. So he got really lucky in that realm. He's not the same road course racer on next gen. I'm not seeing it. Ever since we switched to next gen, we're 2 seasons worth of races in. We've had about 7 or 8 road courses on the next gen car. He's looked only good in like Sonoma last year. He has not looked himself.
Van Gisbergen aside, he was getting shown up by Justin Helly at the end of that race.
Yeah, I mean,
he couldn't catch him.
Well, I want you to keep in mind that before the flip, they were running around in like 30th. Like they were not quick. Both of them were not very quick. So that was a testament to their late,
and then couldn't catch Justin Haley.
Right. Yeah. But I mean, the old Chase Elliott is expected to, I mean, dominance. What we saw Shane do to the field is what Chase Elliott used to do to the field in road course races. That's what it would be like. It'd be like, why does this guy have so much speed through various corners that other guys don't? And I wonder what's going on because we know Chase is talented, but I wonder if maybe because of maybe with how much better the brakes are in the next gen, his braking, doesn't have the advantage he used to have, or whatever style that he had that was different. I remember they did a little segment that showed around a couple sections of Charlotte Roval that Chase Elliott was taking a different line than everybody else and getting more speed there. I'm curious if those advantages are gone with the way that the next gen car is built versus the boxier cars from Gen 6. So I think they said, what's up?
I think I disagree.
He's got to finish. If he doesn't get a win, he's got to average 9th place with no stage points. Now, he hasn't been awful, and he did finish top 5. Granted, he did finish top 5, but he got a gimmick top 5.
I agree.
He's slower than Alex Bowman every week.
I think he is going to get a win.
Think so? I think if he's going to get one, it has to be something like this week.
I was going to say, I'll wait till after Atlanta before I start saying Chase Elliott's not making the playoffs. I'll wait until they run his home track before, starting to make that claim. Because here's the thing. If he goes out there and stinks it up, which, I don't think he could or would. If he were to go out there and stink it up this week, then there's a case to potentially be made there, I think. Because this, to me, this is the one, right? Like, this is where it really, kind of comes into picture. Because that the vast majority of everybody in that place is going to be, rocking something with the number 9 on it.
Yeah.
That he's got, he's got the full swell of all of the, the folks behind him down there. He's getting, a lot of home cooking type of deal. The Dawsonville pool room is going to be overflowing with people all the way, from wall to wall, all that kind of stuff. But regardless, it's one of those kind of things where if he were to go out there and not be top 5 this week, then that's when I would really start to worry.
So, would you like to do your victory lane speech here, Mr. Champ?
I would.
What do you got?
I'm going to revisit a topic that has been updated since the last time we spoke about it. That I think it's worth going back. I want to talk about motorsports games because one of the reasons why I wanted to go over this is that we've had some new information that has come out because. So the last time we spoke about NASCAR Heat, and we don't even mention ignition really, but so NASCAR Heat 5 was the only even as bad as it was palatable NASCAR game that had come out in a very long time. And what Motorsports Games did last year, there was supposed to be a DLC update that was going to give us all of the 2023 packages, the next gen cars. It was supposed to give us the new schedules. It was supposed to give us all of the trimmings that we would have expected. Never happened in October as it was supposed to. And then They waited 6 months or so before they announced, oh, for $10, we're going to release in June a new DLC that is going to include all of the things that you've been asking for. And the first release date that it was scheduled for was either late May or early June. It didn't come, and nobody made the announcement until like the same day or the day after, when it never got released. Then June 22nd was the announced release date for the DLC. It came, sort of. So what happened was, on June 22nd, the DLC got released for PlayStation users. Xbox users sort of got it. The next gen didn't get it, and they had to work out those kinks. Here's the thing. Before that had happened, leave it to the NASCAR community to make something that was absolutely awful better. PC users got together and made their own mod that gave all of the drivers everything. It gave all the players everything they actually wanted. It updated all the paint schemes to be perfect. It modified and allowed for a create your own paint scheme. It added new tracks. It was, well, no, tracks may not have been there, but it was all of the features that you could have wanted from that. They took a pile of crap and shaped it into something that you could look at least, right? So when the actual DLC comes out, go figure, you download that DLC package and your mod that you had that the NASCAR fan community came up with, erased. It no longer works after you get the motorsports games package. And then once it came out and people actually had it, go figure, all of their career modes, the progress that they had been building on a game that had been out for years, all got erased. So they all had to restart they had to restart everything.
Dude,
the whole reason for the delay also was an audio package that was they were trying to get the audio right before they would actually release this, before they released a new package. Guess what? The audio sounded like shit. The cars sounded like lawnmowers. So that's another factor that came in. And it was one of those things that people were like, what the hell? Then on top of that, after, people started talking about it, then another factor that was happening while, people were going for it, people were wondering, wait, so you're releasing this 6 to 8 months late and now it's still the same $10 price point for this DLC? Mm-hmm. That's kind of ridiculous. I mean, a show of goodwill would be, at the very least, knock $1 off it, guys. Just something to show.
Something.
Yeah, something to show that you are not intentionally trying to just kick all of your fans in the teeth. They botched the handling. The next gen cars did not handle properly.
Right.
They screwed up the paint schemes. The schedule that was supposed to come out was still the 2020 schedule. Like, how do you botch this bad? I guess I should not be surprised for a company that last year lost $36 million.
Yeah.
But either way, like,
what are they doing?
How do you do that? How do you botch it that bad? Sorry, I know I ran long.
This is not rocket science, man. Like, I don't understand how they can be so bad.
They have not found.
Jeff and I messed with this game last night. Dirt Rally 2, right? Dirt Rally 2.0.
Oh, that game
basic racing game.
Tough.
You know what it is?
Awesome.
It's awesome.
Tough. It's just rally car trails.
Yes.
Holy,
or
like
it's on a circuit. It's on a circuit.
Oh, you could do the rally circuits as well. Yeah,
I do the real rally cross, with real drivers and models. And
so
cars.
You remember that game, Corey? After we had first gotten iRacing, you would work and I would stream it, and I would kind of be on, and it was like rally just up and down the roads. That's Dirt Rally as well as 2.0. I remember having so much fun that I'd have to stop after about 25 to 30 minutes because my heart's pumping.
Yes.
I was like, yo, this is crazy.
Yeah.
And NASCAR wheel doesn't even, I can't even do my wheel right on NASCAR Heat 5 on the PC.
It's pathetic.
I have to use a controller. So, yeah, I'm with you, Jeff. Not only that, there was no custom setups as well. Custom setups were broken with the next gen. So, fix it, because there's such a market for turning, I think the real issue is they have not found a way to monetize microtransactions in the game. Madden, Ultimate Team, Diamond Dynasty, at its core, whether they're on the ethical side of the spectrum or just money grabbing, they can monetize. People can pay to win. Yes. In NASCAR, you can't. They have not found a way to monetize. There's no NASCAR Ultimate Team.
it is by its own definition stock cars, right?
Right.
Like, what are you gonna sell to us?
Right.
You
So
have to give me the tracks.
it
You have
has
to give me the
right.
cars. You
Right.
have to give me the paint schemes.
Paint schemes
Otherwise,
would be
it's
the
not a
only
NASCAR
thing,
game.
but those are skins, and people are not going to be like people won't pay that
Right.
much money. So
Yeah,
at the end of the day, they just get it out there and try to make some kind of profit or break even. But
well
no,
done, Jeff. We'll call it out
yeah,
because my God, that is pathetic what they do.
I was gonna say, Finn, I disagree with fix it. I don't think I
Right,
say
yeah,
no.
no,
Throw
just
the whole
shoot it
damn
into the sun.
thing away
Yeah,
and
I
never
don't-
try to make a game again.
Oh, yeah,
Ever.
no.
Shoot
not
that into the
motorsports.
sun and let's start over.
the
That's
only
exactly
benefit
right.
if you're a NASCAR fan and you're diehard enough to learn how to do it is iRacing. Super fun, but again, some people just want a career mode. Some people just want to. It's
Yeah,
tough
but
because
the-
iRacing is not. It's not a small thing. You're going to be a
iRacing
couple.
costs 10 times more
Right.
than give me my $60
Right.
one-off video game on Xbox that I can play on my controller.
Right.
$60. iRacing, it's $300 for a passable controller.
Right.
Like
So,
that doesn't even get into the subscriptions and the cars and all that kind of stuff.
for sure.
Crazy expensive. So
So
I'm with Jeff. Let's shoot NASCAR heat into the sun. Somebody please make a NASCAR game worth playing that is not iRacing. Please.
for sure.
And hey, the arcade game's probably going to be fairly decent, but we also do need a sim that's going
Mario
to,
Kart.
scratch that itch.
Right. So
Anyway.
we got Atlanta, and I'm gonna let Jeff in a second get to the fast facts, right? But I wanted to do something because I think our goal this week is to try to get this out to new people and new faces that may have come to the sport. Maybe you're coming from the V8 realm. Maybe you're just a motorsports fan, but you never watched NASCAR until this weekend because of the Project 91, because of Jenson Button, Formula One champ, no shy feat. So I want to talk about what you're gonna view this week at Atlanta, because this isn't the street course anymore. This is I mean, I think it's the total end of the spectrum, right?
Yeah.
This
Those
is
left turns, boys.
right. This is ovals, and this is not about heel toe in the clutch. This is not about the gas and the brake while using the clutch. This is not about who can outshift and outbrake. This is a battle of attrition at 190 miles an hour, nose to tail. So just keep in mind, NASCAR has it all, right? You got the road course, you got your shorter track racing, a lot of bumping and beating and banging. Then you got your miles and a half, which I think is the premiere of the sport. When the sport is at its best, where it's high speed into the corners with, the most, I would say the biggest speed drop, right? You're going from about a 180, 185 to down to 140 in these corners. And a big speed differential. I think that's really where the best true oval drivers shine. And then we've got this, which is pack racing. So I'm going to flip over and we'll put this on the screen while I talk. That way I don't ramble too much. But the general gist of it is that everything's been equalized now in terms of horsepower and raw speed. It is no longer who's faster. It is about who has got more friends, who is on top of understanding which lane is quickest, where I need to be, where my friends are, predicting things. So this is essentially the final lap here of last year or earlier, the race earlier this year, where Joey Logano makes a sick move on the outside. He's got drafting help on the outside. The inside lane doesn't have it. And one mistake here ends everything. If Logano spins or gets turned, I mean, it's going to be a massive pile. So this was Logano winning. But yeah, you notice this. The entire pack is under a blanket.
Yeah,
and that is
on
what
top
it's
of
going to
each
be
other.
like. The only time it will not be like that is when we're pitting, right? Because the teams, they pit by manufacturer, right? The Ford. And that's why I was kind of bringing it up earlier, which is, what have we learned thinking back to some of the other races this year? Do you want to be the first group of cars to pit or the second for the super speedways? Because that's dictated a lot. I think the Chevys have gotten themselves screwed heavily this year by
Yeah.
pitting second. I think the big thing this year is pitting first.
What you really don't get though is the tire fall off.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's really more about how tight they can stay, is my
Right.
understanding, right? As long as because really what's going to happen is because there's 20 Chevys, there's 14 Fords, and there's 6 or 7 Toyotas. Chevys are all going to pit together. Ford and Toyota is probably all going to pit together,
Right.
Or at least somewhere close, something like that, right? So if they can stay nice and tight, they're going to come out and be fine. First or second, I don't know. I think it really just depends on who's got the best pit crews, honestly. More so than whether you pit first or pit second.
Who doesn't speed?
Yeah, true.
You guys remember Atlanta has that special extended pit road.
Entryway. Oh my god.
The entry into pit road is on the back stretch. So they got to get down to 35, 40 miles an hour for a very long time. So a single mistake is a very long mistake, right? Especially if you have to come back down. Who can get down to top speed, to that quickest, most efficient? I think that's something to keep in mind, that they learned the lessons from last time. There was a lot of pit road penalties last year. Weren't there? Last season, or sorry, not last season.
I think it was the first time they were on that weird pit entry, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
It almost feels like it's been a year since the last Atlanta race, with the way that all the other stuff that's been happening throughout the year. It's kind of crazy.
So, do you got any fast facts for us outside of or are we just going to go back to the old one? If there's an Atlanta episode somewhere in the playlist, go find it.
I've got some facts for you.
Yeah,
I've got some information that I will throw it out there, especially if we're talking about, if there's some new folks that are coming in, and if you found us, welcome. We're glad to have you, and we hope that you stick with us. In regards to Atlanta Motor Speedway, something to keep in mind is that what we're watching now is a new iteration of this track. It wasn't previously one that raced in the super speedway fashion. It used to run differently, and what they decided that they wanted to do was design the track with its banking, with its length, with everything else, to run in a way that emulated the Talladegas and the Daytonas of the world, and it brought in the pack racing. It brought in other elements that are much more notorious for super speedways. So the facts that I have about the track: this opened in 1960. The capacity for the track can range anywhere between 71,000 to 125,000 people, depending on the track configuration. The distance of the track used to be 1.52 miles. It is now 1.54 miles, and the banking is 28 degrees, which is one of the bigger differences in the newest iteration of the track. The track lap record currently is 29.531 seconds from Martin Truex Jr. Previously, at its old iteration, it was Jeff Bodine with 28.074 seconds. Earlier this year, Joey Logano, as we saw in that video, ran away with the spring race at Atlanta. And it was still an interesting race to watch throughout, watching the guys adjust to the different pit lane, watching the adjustment really to pack racing at 1.5 miles in the way that they did. There were a lot of elements that were fairly compelling, but Finn can break down some of the more intricate details of it. But now you at least know a little more information about how Atlanta works. And also for any of our friends that are coming over from overseas, when we were talking about speed, that 35 mile an hour mark for the pit road speed, that's 56 kilometers per hour. And at 190 miles per hour, we were talking about 300 kilometers per hour in your metric fashion. So
yeah.
Sounds cooler that way.
Freedom units, 300. I think it's, and this is you've had your victory lane in the past where you said this is the purest, best racing in the sport, and I obviously heavily disagree. And I think you proved my point, which is, I think if we're gonna be balls to the wall, nose to tail, it should be the fastest these cars can get. The fastest these cars can get. The fact that right now, on the current iteration, with drafting, they are almost a second slower than these cars were before.
Yeah.
In the 1.5 miles is a testament to the fact that that we're not going quick enough. Why are we changing things? And that's, I'm a little concerned in that realm.
Oh, my point, to be fair, my point was more general in the style rather than it was like, you want to get these cars back up over 700 horsepower? Yes, please sign me up all day. I'm down.
Yes.
I am not against that.
Like, what I want is for super speedways to be the best. That's what I want. Right.
Right.
But like, at this moment with this car, Charlotte, Kansas, Auto Club was awesome. Like there's those types of tracks are just racing better because the car is more suited to them. But yeah, if we're doing 215 miles an hour, you know what? Daytona and Talladega are going to be the most fun.
So I'm
Or it's
always
not.
curious. Obviously, what a person likes for racing is subjective.
Sure.
For example, there is nothing. It is very hard to beat the hype of the last 3 laps of a super speedway race. Like, no matter as much as I hate super speedways, as much not hate them, but don't prefer them. The fact that our final race before playoffs to determine the final potential playoff spots, and the fact that one win could make up for an entire lackluster season. We go to Daytona. Those last 3 laps at Daytona to end the regular season are going to be amongst the hypest that we've seen. And even in the last, couple years that we've done that, Willie B got his first win doing that and snuck himself into the playoffs a couple years ago. I called it last year with Austin Dillon stealing that win.
You did.
At Daytona. It's going to be hype. So it gets it what it deserves. But I think what makes a good race for me, not the most hype moment of the race, right? Because the most hype I felt all year long was that, but the super speedway races, right? Aside from that, let's go to this weekend's race, or this last weekend's race, Shane.
Fair.
Have we had any true, really close last lap battles? I mean, the Truex and Ross stuff has been really, really close. But
the 3 wide for 3 laps we had 2 weeks ago was pretty cool. That wasn't the last lap, but it was
right. But finishes, there's been but one car running down another trying to get that last lap pass and make a move. That's very interesting to me. But I think what I really enjoy is the full scale, the full race. Can I tell the full story? And that's why I want to bring this up is if you are watching the race this weekend, and it's your first time, maybe you've picked a favorite driver, because obviously the 91's not going to be there. But you're watching and go, hey, what am I supposed to do? I pick my favorite driver. Oh no, he's in 30th. It's not like running around 30th in a short track race or a road course race. As long as the car is in one piece, they will have a chance to win this race. The first 90%, I would say the first 70% of this race is survive. Do not get wrecked out. That is the first 70%. Because you could be Bubba Wallace, the first one of the best super speedway racers in the series. He got loose, lost it, totaled the car, done. Right? Survived the first 70. Then after the first 70, I'd say then you're splitting 15. That's math, right? 70 plus 15 plus 15 is 100. Yeah.
You got it there, sir.
15% is then getting yourself in position, which I would say you don't even know. The top 15 is being in position to win the race. Because at any given moment, you catch the right
Having
lane.
your car running is going to be
70. Right. 70% is survive, and then the next 15% is work your way up, get a feel, work your way up, find a friend, and then the last 15% of this race is get to the front and hope for the best. Right. So
was it Talladega where Chastain pulled the move on Gragson and cut to the middle? Was that Talladega?
I think so, yeah.
Because that was some last lap super speedway shenanigans like you're talking about. It was late,
right?
Late,
and it was the
race.
same race with the Bubba Blaney situation.
And by the way, that was the same race we had the Priest Larson crime that took place.
Oh, that was good.
And that wreck is a perfect microcosm of what you're talking about, because they got real crazy at the front of the pack very late in the race.
Right. Yeah.
So it causes huge wreck and it just wipes out half the field. It's like if you're in a better position to be in 21st than in 6th, because you're just out of the nonsense. You at least have time to kind of slow down.
Yeah, it has nothing. I mean, I would say how fast your car, right? Because Logano has very much had an impressive car horsepower wise at those tracks and is able to kind of get, and you'll get that little umph, but who's the fastest car to Daytona every year? The 48. Who's nowhere near to be found in the front at the end of these races. Yeah, it has nothing to do with how fast. Like the other races, you qualify up front, practice up front, qualify up front, and then you're gone. And as long as you don't screw up, you're good. Out here, No, it's a completely different game. So I would say while the length of the race can be a bit of a snooze fest because there's not a lot going on, your guy being up front matters none. Your guy being in the rear matters none. The only time that this shit matters for this racetrack is going to be at the end. So you just need to be watching and get a feel for how's the high lane working, how's the low lane working. Can you get pushed? Can they get pushed? How's the I don't know. Just if you're new to the sport, don't stress this weekend. The goal is not to stress about where your driver is. The goal is to just enjoy the race, enjoy the wrecks. They're going to happen. Enjoy a different style of racing, which is we were watching those guys, Shane, right on somebody's bumper, turning left, turning right at 120. I don't know what that is in kilometers. Somebody else can figure it out. But 120, 100 miles an hour down to 70. This time it's going to be 185 full out. So there's no time to break.
193.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, no one's touching the brakes at this track.
So
The brakes are going to be they won't have to replace the brakes after this race.
no,
Like at all.
what was the track where the brakes kept failing? Was it Worldwide Technology?
Yes. Yeah.
Everything was
where
failing.
someone got welts. Someone got hit with a piece of the
Noah
with a piece of the brake and ended up with welts on the side on them because
the brakes were failing, the internet was failing. It was a weird weekend there, that one. But what do we think here? We're getting ever closer. This is the wild card race. How about this? It's got to be wacky. It's got to be somebody with no wins this year, no championships. Who's your wacky pick this week to steal a race? Because obviously Shane just picked one. Stole one. Who is your...
Is this? We're doing wacky bits?
Yeah, wacky prediction. So, who's your guy to win that has no business winning, but you're just going to call it? Not even a fringe guy. Bowman, no. Briscoe, no.
A fringe guy? Like legit
those are fringe. Those are fringe guys.
Haley.
Justin
Haley's a safe pick. If you want to go Justin Haley.
Well, for wacky picks, it's Justin Haley.
Right.
Like if that's what we're doing,
that's what I'm thinking. Because Haley almost stole one. Right.
Yeah. Ride that momentum.
Right. There's the guy that almost won this race the second time we raced there, but Chase Elliott walled him. That's Corey LaJoy in the 7. LaJoy's pretty good at these kinds of tracks.
I'll take your boy Todd Gilliland.
You're gonna go Todd Gilliland, gonna sneak one? Yeah. Hell yeah!
I would have. Okay, so to respond
Chase
to what
Briscoe
you're saying,
would have counted here. By the way.
That's true. Briscoe is a wild card pick, although he did finish in the top 20 this week. Top 20 for Chase Briscoe.
There you go.
Kudos. We buried the lead earlier. I was gonna pick Chase Elliott to win this race. I think Chase Elliott will win this race.
Interesting.
But in the hypothetical you put forward, let's do some wackies. I'll take a Ford. I'll take Todd Gilliland.
Todd Gilliland, and you go. What do you say, Haley? So you took a Chevy. Are there any Toyotas that are wacky picks? Not so much.
I can think of one.
Huh?
I can think of one.
Toyotas that are wacky picks.
Yeah. Ty Gibbs is a wacky pick.
I don't know. Ty Gibbs is in the playoffs right now.
Yeah. He's still a wacky to win this race.
Yeah, he's a wacky to win because he's a rookie, but
yes.
I'm going to keep it in the Front Row Motorsports family. You chose Todd Gilliland. I'm going to take Michael McDowell.
All right.
I think he's a guy who...
You got Daytona on the brain is what you got going on.
We got Daytona on the brain. Just guys that are I know are going to be confident in those conditions. You need somebody who's... I'm a little wary because of Todd because he's not the most veteran driver, but McDowell's been there. He's won good races. I think Buescher would have been an acceptable pick. I think, you look at Keselowski, those guys have been running well at those kinds of tracks, but I'm happy with
the list of regular season races we have remaining is getting real short, real quick for some of these guys like Elliott and Harvick, who doesn't need a win, but is on that kind of path.
Harvick does need a win. He doesn't have one.
Well, yes, I know that he doesn't have a win, but like he's well over the cut line at this point. Right. So, like Bubba and Harvick, and we've been doing this every week, but it's like, dude, some of these guys are not going to get in the playoffs. Bowman, Briscoe, they're just not, and it's like, man, it's going to be a real spicy 2 months here leading up to this playoff race. For sure.
Get into the end for sure.
Are we doing a realistic pick as well?
No.
So we're
No.
just going wacky picks.
I mean, I
Okay.
gave my realistic pick. Like, I expect Chase Elliott to win this weekend. It's his
We
home
can
track.
add the stipulation that guy has to be on your fantasy team as well.
Yeah, all right, cool. All right, we'll
Just
give
a
everybody
thought,
their
make some
want
snakes.
pick. I'll put McDowell up there.
You know.
McDowell up there. And my realistic, we'll do that. So you chose the 9 and the 38.
All
I'll
right.
take McDowell.
Hold on,
and-
let's write this down.
And I'm going to go with, I'm going to go with Kyle Larson.
Yeah, that's another good pick.
I'm going to go with the 5. And I think he gets his first super speedway win. So 5 and I don't know
Ben's
what
got
McDowell.
5 and
34.
34.
So who do you got?
Jeff,
31 and
So I had the 31, and then for the actual, like, you know, the non-wacky pick on this particular one, then I'm gonna actually, well, let's see. Should I say that the 6 would be somehow in the running
I
on
mean,
this one?
I could see Keselowski showing.
you know
up.
we should
He
do for
ran great at the last Atlanta race,
Yes.
so it's worth acknowledging that. So that's where part of my frame of mind on that one is. But honestly, like, I think it's really going to come. It's going to be a little wild. I think the wacky picks stand just as much of a chance. But to that, I think Tyler Reddick is my other
45.
is my true
Okay.
pick. Yeah.
Okay. It's
45.
wacky. It should be a fun race. I'm excited to watch it. I'm happy to get back to ovals and kind of normal ovals. I feel like we just haven't had like normalcy. Though the Ally 400 was pretty fun. It wasn't a bad race at all. I'm excited to kind of get back to the roots of NASCAR and it should be fun. We got this coming up. We got New Hampshire coming up. I'm interested to see how we race there.
We're gonna make some left turns. Is what we're gonna do.
You guys are heading to the Richmond race.
Yes, we are.
I got
Yes,
tickets.
we are.
I got tickets to Darlington. I know I said that offline, but I'll be down at Darlington. So, and I'm mad. I don't know if I told you guys this. I didn't realize that Darlington was closer to my home than
Yeah.
Charlotte was. My whole life, I just haven't been
Yeah.
going to Darlington races because I thought they were too far, and it was like an hour and 25, hour 30
Dude,
from the
it's
house. I'm
like
an idiot.
From where we live, it's closer for us to go to Pocono than Martinsville.
Really?
That is wild
Yeah.
to me, dude. Pocono's like 4 hours away, and Martinsville's like 4.5.
It's the state
Virginia is a
determination, right?
massive-
Martinsville's in the same state.
Yes.
And Pocono's 2 states away, yet it's still closer. And Finn, I think that's part of what it is for you, right? Is that you're
Feels
thinking like that's a whole other Carolina away to go to Darlington.
Right. Martinsville's 2 hours away from where I'll be living, so super exciting. So,
Well, I'm looking forward to seeing some racing here very, very soon.
oh yeah.
Agreed. It'll be nice to get back into kind of the oval swing and not feel like, okay, what's the new thing we're doing next week? So, yeah. But on that note, I think that's going to wrap things up for us this week. Please make sure you check us out on YouTube, Spotify, and iHeartRadio under the name Intentional Wreck. Like, share, subscribe. Tell your friends. Again, if you're just coming across us and checking us out on the hype off the Chicago race and you're just starting to get into NASCAR, welcome. We're glad to have you. And please stick with us. We tend to upload episodes in the middle of the week, just about every single week. And like I said, like, share, subscribe, tell your friends. Find us on Twitter at intwreckpod. That's at INTWRECKPOD. You can tweet at us. We promise we will get back to you. And enjoy the race, everybody.
See ya.
Take what you want from me.